UCLA may be the site of the most violence in the nation thus far in these crackdowns on peaceful student protests. The LAPD, our favorite disgusting hogs, just descended like a storm on the peaceful protesters. And well, I mean, you know, this is a live stream of the whole thing. It's 3 hours. We're not going over the whole thing. We got highlights, though. We love our highlights, don't we, folks? Here. Vosh, I have UCLA faculty in my family. He said it was the Zionists that started the violence. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. We saw that the other night. We literally saw that the other night, where Zionists were attacking people, dragging them out of the protest line, beating them with clubs, pulling back literally like an old lady to attack her. Throwing fireworks, you know, and the cops did nothing because they're fine with it. The cops, like, didn't care because they were okay with it. Anyway, this big old link was provided by Any, the breakdown. At UCLA, as police move in to disperse protesters and dismantle the pro-Palestinian encampment. A lot of people out there. For the cops to come down. Inside the pro-Palestinian encampment at UCLA, as protesters stand their ground, defying police orders to disperse. Chillin'. Big chillin'. Inside the pro-Palestinian encampment, that's a lot of tents. Big building. Go Bruins. Protesters brace themselves. Yeah, hold on. 11 p.m. at the encampment. Let's see when the police get in here. Protesters start moving towards the fence, preparing for police action. Lot of people. Lot of people. Protesters are wearing hard helmets, goggles, and respirators. Police give the dispersal order. God, look at the goddamn spotlights. It gets really bad. Yep. We're all in the lead up. Oh, missed that at the start. Flashbang grenade. Please form a line.
To protest peacefully. These students have been out here for...
Right next to each other in the encampment.
Are they coming in?
Why do cops wear black anyway? To make them look scary. You know, this series of clips, it's very jarring, all these 10-second clips. I guess it's good for the virality. Yeah, it's difficult with all these short clips. Here, hold on.
Fog or chemical agent, unclear. Maybe
my understanding, as things went on, is that this turned pretty bad pretty quickly.
Actually see it, but
It's a dangerous situation.
Okay, let's go to
really
Gigi
is.
Grassi.
These students, we are hoping that they don't get hurt.
We're going to go to Gigi. She's on the other side. Gigi, what are you seeing?
Well, as Gina just reported, someone just set a fire extinguisher off. They have begun throwing bottles and cans at police officers. As police officers continue to dismantle the encampment, they apparently have those fire extinguishers inside the encampment. You see there the protesters holding umbrellas as they continue to use their flashlights and strobe lights to shine those flashlights into the officers' eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
We saw one officer was hit with a can. Again, they are well prepared. They have their riot gear on. They have their helmets on. So we did not see him injured. And here you go.
Just firing grenades into
the California Highway Patrol from the South Division firing those flashbangs, those distractionary devices.
Distractionary devices.
There you go. Let's listen. Now the protesters all have umbrellas. I'm going to ask Tony just pan down for 1 second. This is some of the things they had inside. You see tables, you see
Hamas tables, you've got a Hamas bucket, you've got a Hamas umbrella. Yeah, there's a lot of bad shit here. Hold on.
So move back for your safety. For your safety.
Just firing rubber bullets into the crowds. Remember, rubber bullets can absolutely kill you.
So move back.
Just like and still like. Oh yeah, smiling while he does it. By the way, I think he was smiling. No, he was literally smiling. Yeah, they're demons. And like in response to what? Like what violence is being committed by the protesters? Like they throw a can? It's insane. Yeah, that's why they call them less lethal ammo. But yeah, you're supposed to fire it out the ground so they bounce up, but cops never ever do that. I've never seen a cop do that. At a point in time, the UCLA protesters actually pushed the cops back. That didn't last long though. This is at 152. This is at 153. Oh, okay. We're synced up. Yeah, the line of the police retreat out of the encampment. Notice how there's no smoke yet. And that's because the cops haven't yet been given the go-ahead to do whatever they want. Basically, what happened here was at first... Remember the police that we saw at the beginning of this? Like, these are regular cops. See these guys? These are like... Look at their equipment, okay? They've got their helmets on, their batons. Yeah, these are normal cops, okay? The normal cops fail to disperse the protests. The normal cops fail. So they're getting pushed out right here. That's what we're looking at here. Them getting pushed out. Then they're going to come back for real this time. See?
The crowd is now retreating as they are being pushed out completely out of the encampment by no less than a couple hundred protesters on the encampment, within the encampment.
So that's stage one, and we'll see how it goes, obviously. People are real happy over here. Unfortunately... Police repeat dispersal order, declare unlawful assembly. Police message warns protesters they face arrest and are subject to less lethal munitions for staying in the area. If there's one thing that cops can't tolerate, it's humiliation. They're all ego-driven. So you force out the regular cops, like, yep, we're turning in the like real troopers now, the actual jackbooted thugs.
The area which was described, regardless of your purpose, it will be in violation of Section 49 of the Penal Code. The dispersal route will walk between Outlander and Captain South.
Protesters rush into another entrance to man it, expecting police to enter again soon. Police in riot gear and gas masks stacking up outside one entrance. Protesters are calling for shields and helmets at this entrance. Just outside, police in riot gear and gas masks are stacking up. Protesters are awaiting police action. You don't think the initial attempt was half-hearted so they could send in the thugs? What I think is that the LAPD, for political reasons, would have preferred to disperse this peacefully, but there were a bunch of grinning psychopath riot cops waiting the whole time, knowing that the first wave of cops weren't going to do anything. And those guys were waiting, just like massaging their erections through their pants, waiting for the opportunity to go in there. Quite a scene. Man, another entrance to the camp. Lots of protesters moving to this entrance. Police appear to be taking down some of the fence. Protesters reinforcing. Multiple sound concussive devices used. What do these do? They loud. Bunch of sound concussive bombs. Just means big bangs. To get a sense of how loud these concussive devices are, my decibel reader app on my phone is clocking 113. Jesus. Yeah, they can disorient you pretty good. Obviously, it's not that loud for us because we're hearing it through a recording, but what's the point of them? To scare people? Yep. Scare you, disorient you, make you not want to be there anymore. I don't know how much people are going to be listening to your dispersal orders. Jesus. Look at that. Yeah, see, here are the riot cops. You can see a distinct, you know, they're larger, they're covered head to toe, just looking like fat Marines. Riot cops tend to actually be a bit more physically competent than your average police officer. Yes, they have 2 health bars. These are the 40mm rubber bullets. Yeah, I think they're using 40mm. I know there are smaller versions, but rubber bullets are pretty big. I think no, these are too large, I think. The ones that they were firing that we saw in those videos, this is too big. Yeah, 40mm is grenade size. You know, that's too big. If they're firing it out of something like a shotgun, it wouldn't be 40mm. Incredibly impressive work from the students here. I don't know how much good it's going to do them. Reminder again that the only documented evidence we have of violence at the UCLA student Gaza Solidarity protests was initiated by cops and by Zionists. Like, I'm sure there were some tussles, don't get me wrong, but in terms of, like, actual documented, like, violence that you could be charged with felonies over, like, it was the Zionists. And this is what they get, this is the response. Wasn't there was, like, at UCLA, there was literally, like, an agitator, a Zionist agitator who was working with the police. Like, he was running all over campus trying to start shit, and then there was a photo of him shaking hands with a cop on the way out. Like, they are working together here, okay? It is the powers that be united against life and decency. Yeah, so I haven't seen this far into it, but obviously once the cops get through that, they're going to, yeah. There you go, man. You go, dude. Keep wiggling. You'll get it.
Hey, helmet! Helmet! Back here! Extra bodies right here, please! Off arm!
All this was happening while we slept. It's this one right here, right? Yeah, I just reloaded. That guy with the flashlight and the weapon, it's a 40mm launcher. Yeah, it looks like it. Look at the size of the thing he drops. The shell? It's pretty big.
For your safety. For your safety.
We saw this clip. Yeah, again, like, you have to like, you have to contextualize this too. Because the environment in which this is happening, why this is happening, nobody is attacking these cops. This isn't like they're dispersing a violent mob or anything. Like, this isn't a riot that they're breaking down. They're literally just slowly moving forward into a group of students. None of these clips contain violence against the cops. I'm sure students were throwing cans. I don't care. Meanwhile, they're literally, yeah, it's fish in a barrel. They're just firing into a crowd, you know? You think this guy is targeting people based on some imminent perceived harm? He's grinning as he does this. He's just firing at people. How are they even deciding who to shoot? Which is their least favorite minority group?
Get back! Get back!
You're not allowed to grab your bag. Get back.
Back up! Get back! Get back!
You're not allowed to grab your bag. Get back.
So macho. So strong. Yeah, at the range that guy was pointing his gun at that young woman, that would have been a lethal round, or at least a very high likelihood of being a lethal round. So pointing it would like effectively just pointing weapons at just some student protester, like on the ground, obviously defenseless, completely separated from the group. Removing the Hamas paraphernalia. Oh, by the way, you want to know what these sick fucks are doing to these students? You want to see something really fucked up? At UCLA, taking the masks and gear off the students in front of the media because they know these charges aren't going to stick, so the real punishment is being doxxed. The real punishment is, hey, every future employer, everyone involved, here we are, taking their mask off. Did they do this to the Proud Boys? No. Did they do this to the Nazis they arrest? No. Do they do this to anyone else? No. They know these charges aren't going to stick, so they and the media are complicit in this. The media, they're holding the camera up. This is the real punishment, you know? We might not have the legal pretext to go after all of you yet, but that doesn't mean we're not going to ruin your life, you know? Just remember that it's all of them working together. The media, the police, the corporations that publicly like talk about like blacklisting people, you know, like at every level, all of these people work together. That is how power works. It's not like individual or stochastic. These tiny students. Some cops are also taking off hijabs. Video of police removing a woman's hijab at ASU. Legal sources tell ABC 15 that 4 women have had this happen. It's another constitutional issue from this weekend's protest. Yeah, that sounds about right to me. Could have an IED under there, you know?
Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back! Back up! Move! 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 Move back!
Now there's the state troopers. There's the California Highway Patrol, I assume.
Move back!
Moo.
Back! Move back! Hey! 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 Back up! Get back! Back up! Get back! We're good.
Do cops think yelling "move back" like that makes them cool? Yes, they do. To a cop, there is nothing cooler than bellowing orders in like the deepest voice they can muster. That is to them, that is literally the coolest imaginable thing, and they will take any opportunity. Yeah, they think it's a spell they cast on you, basically. They love this shit. They love being Judge Dredd.
Not allowed to be in this area. Leave the area now, or you will be subject to arrest. Get out of here. Now. Get back. Get back. We have arrest squad. Get this one right here. With a checkered mask. Move back. Back up. You will go to jail. Move back. Get back. Move back. Move. Regardless of the reason, we're not allowed to be in this area. Leave the area now, or you will be subject to arrest. Get out of here. Now.
I love cops' trigger discipline. Yeah, they're so well trained. Man, this is so surreal. UCLA was my favorite campus to go to. Like, in LA. Like, it was so pretty. And I know all this, you know? Like, I've been here so many times. And this is the end. I am out of UCLA. Okay, so that is when this brave individual departed. Annie, this was a great thread. Thank you for providing it to me. It's not getting a lot of attention either, which is a shame because a lot of these shots are pretty compelling. And then we have the external coverage where the news are giving you sort of an ongoing you know, narration about how the Hamas umbrellas have been captured or whatever.
It's very hard to make out. We're at a little bit of a distance, but there seems to be a scuffle. They're trying to protect themselves, apparently from police that are moving in. You see the police there to your right, the California Highway Patrol to the right with their black.
Clearly a Hasanabi head, probably. And Hassan should be proud for having that in his community.
Black helmets on, and the protesters continue to use umbrellas. Umbrellas have been a big thing here.
I saw this as well. Hold on. Yeah. I have a feeling this is going to be one of those like generational photos, you know? This is good. That is so goddamn good. The stones required. Like this is like cartoonishly Queen, you know? Insane. This shit goes hard. Impossibly hard. She thinks she's her and she's right.
Seen so many, dozens and dozens of protesters.
Wait, I think it's from the Georgia protest. Oh, is this from Georgia? Oh, okay. This got posted alongside all the UC. Wait, how could it be from Georgia? This is police in English. Oh, wait, you mean Georgia the state, not Georgia the. Because we were talking. No, the country, the nation of Georgia. Really? This is from 2015 in North Macedonia. Okay, everyone was wrong. I saw this getting posted alongside all the other UCLA stuff. So I assumed, well, whatever. We can pretend that she's from UCLA. Okay, you're doing great, lady. All right, moving on.
Holding up umbrellas. You can see the umbrella there. An officer just grabbed one. And we're going to go back to you. We're going to continue to monitor the situation here on the campus of UCLA.
All right, Gigi, let us know if anything develops there. We're going to go back to Mario Ramirez. He's also on the campus, a little further away from the encampment.
To our left, I'm going to ask Tony to pan over to the left. They've opened this area up. It's a little difficult. There's a lot of media here. There's a lot of police.
What are the umbrellas for? To block canisters, but mostly to block eyesight because they know that they're at great risk of being singled out or doxxed or whatever.
Was actually a student
I
here
don't know if you
at
know
UCLA.
an answer to this, Gigi, but that building right there I think we're looking at is Royce Hall. And
Yes.
are there protesters inside that building? Have they been
initial
It looks like things are pretty settled by now.
Day. The White House feels compelled to kind of deploy the president to talk
What
about...
What the f*** are you doing?
The White House feels compelled to kind of deploy the president to talk about this kind of campus unrest.
You know, it's also interesting. We've seen Republicans vocal saying that, you know, the president needs to speak on this. And you mentioned images. Yeah.
And he did.
You know, kind of two different directions that this can go. And I imagine they're both going to be impactful. The images of these mass protests on one hand, and then also what we are likely about to see, images of mass arrests of many college students.
Yeah, man, this makes the state look fantastic. Hundreds of militarized police arresting completely unambiguously unarmed students in front of genocide, not war, peace, heart, you know, yeah.
Protesters, that's got to have an impact.
That's right, especially because so many of these folks are young voters, and that will play maybe even a determining role in the November election. And, you know, while we concentrate on these big events, Columbia on the East Coast, UCLA on the West Coast, this is happening around the country, as you know, and it's happening in our backyard here in Washington as well. There have been big protests at George Washington University. They have been largely peaceful, but the university...
Yeah, this is not live anymore.
The California Highway Patrol taking the last few dozen protesters that were left standing.
Unfortunately, the American public loves cracking protesters' heads. Yeah, but never in retrospect. And also, I feel like, because I know that at the time, the civil rights movement and the anti-Vietnam War movement and all that stuff got different treatment as well. But the thing is, though, Americans were subject to a lot of very aggressive propaganda in favor of our involvement in Vietnam. But we haven't really been subject to a lot of aggressive propaganda in favor of Israel's behavior. Even Biden has kind of hedged his statements on that. You know, however, like, disingenuous he might be. So I don't think the American, like, hawkish, because the American public doesn't like Israel or what it's doing, you know? Like, the polling has shifted significantly in the past 6 months, which makes me think that, like, absent that really, really strong, like, no, we're America, we need to stick together, you know, you're with us or you're against us, without that, like, thought-terminating cliche driving the behavior of the American public, I don't know if they're going to be as primed against these protests. And also, like, man. It's just so straightforward looking, you know? There's not a single screenshot you could find here that doesn't make the police look monstrous. Mainstream media is pushing it hard. It's just younger people don't get their news from TV. Yeah. You take any shot from these protests like this or whatever, you know, like any shot from this, I think the American people understand on some level.
On the ground, Gigi Graciette is right there on the front line. Gigi, what are you seeing right now?
Well,
wait, this was CHP, not LAPD. I mean, they were all there. Sheriff's Department, everyone was there. But the CHP is, the California Highway Patrol is like insanely powerful. There's a reason why they're called the California Highway Patrol and not just like California State Police or whatever. They have their own like iconography, their own reputation, their own hotspots, their own, like they've got a lot going on.
We just saw a big fight break out between protesters and police. One of the protesters was near a fire extinguisher, and you heard the California Highway Patrol officers shouting at them, "Don't pick it up, don't pick it up." Very tense moments. The protester did not pick it up. They continued to dismantle this. Many people have been taken into custody already, but the biggest challenge so far has been dismantling the encampment. And basically what police are doing is they're circling the protesters, and that group is getting smaller and smaller, although it is still quite large. Tony Butita, come to me for a second. I just want to show you some of the things that we've seen flying from the encampment here. This is a lantern.
Okay.
It's still lit. This just came flying from the encampment here. So protesters are throwing things at
man. Man, that, you know? Such a shame to see a peaceful crackdown on protesters be interrupted. Everything was going fine until the lantern.
Police officers at the California Highway Patrol. I'm going to leave this here now. As you see,
meanwhile, like explosions going off in the background as the cops fire flashbangs and shit, you know, like, well, you know, the violent.
Photographer, there's another scuffle right now. They are beginning to resist being arrested. The protesters are grabbing other protesters that are being taken into custody, so it's sort of a tug.
No, notice all the language. Again, they're just always manufacturing consent. Resist being arrested. All you can see is the back of the cops, lady. All you hear is a tussle. You have no idea what the cops are doing or what they're doing. You're down there at the level of the camera. You just hear the protesters are starting to resist. Okay. No active language. No, the cops are moving in to take them. It's always passive for the cops, active for the protesters. It's always like that. Always like that.
Of war between police.
Keep in mind, by the way, that a lot of local news organizations are basically just like stooges of the police department. Like they will get releases from the LAPD and just repeat them and pretend that's news. They treat the LAPD like an unbiased source of information rather than a side anytime anything happens. You know, and there have been cases, by the way, of cops legitimately threatening members of the press for not going along, either explicitly or implicitly. Literally, just like, yeah, stenographers, not journalists, exactly. Just like whatever the cop narrative is, however it goes, because it like could legitimately be dangerous to them otherwise.
Protesters, and in the middle, the protester being taken into custody. Not nice to see. This is what no one wanted to see. And please interrupt me if you have another shot. Look at that piece of metal right now that just came flying. How they got you.
I'm sorry?
See, this is what no one wanted to see. And please interrupt me if you have another shot. Look at that piece of metal right now that just came flying. How they got
you mean the one the cop just threw in front of you? Just came flying. Notice how she stopped talking for a second after?
Another shot. Look at that piece of metal right now that just came flying. How?
You know why she stopped there? Because she knew that if she paused there and didn't clarify who threw it, that it made it just sound a little bit more menacing. Not, wow, oh, look at this piece the cop just tossed back there. A totally normal sentence. But rather, no, that just came flying. Again, passive language for the cops. If the cops do anything, it's always passive language. They toss a piece of rubbish back, you know? Oh, it came flying. They start arresting protesters. The protesters are resisting arrest.
How they got, you have to ask yourself, how did they get all of this into the encampment?
It's a piece of metal. It's one of the most manufactured things on Earth. The core of Earth is made of iron. What do you mean, how'd they get it in?
These pieces of plywood, it's not like you can put them in your pocket.
This is the media. This is the media. This is the media. How do you move? Hello. I'm a person who works for a television station in Los Angeles, and I've never done a day of work in my life. How do you move something larger than the space in your pocket?
And a lot of people very critical of UCLA, both officials, university officials, and campus police, that they allowed all of
Yep, there you go. You thought for a second she was going to criticize UCLA for enabling a massive crackdown and propagation of violence on campus. Nope. The criticism is that they didn't do this earlier. There you go. Yep. You thought for a second, like, oh, gonna criticize UCLA? No, it's because they should have done this earlier, actually. Should have done this worse.
this material. We're talking about tables, metal chairs.
That's crazy, yo.
Wood, metal barriers that we're seeing, easy-ups, tents, umbrellas, things that you can't easily sneak into campus.
I genuinely, like, yeah, I'm going to lose my mind. I can't. It's too much. When the powers that be tell you that your job is to make the protesters look bad, and you're like, okay, I'll say whatever I can, and it's live, so you can't edit your script or have anything written out beforehand, so you just have to waffle because there's nothing to go off of. So you just have to be like, how could you don't normally see umbrellas and chairs? Where would you get stuff like that? This feels like an alien talking who has never been to Earth.
And obviously, police, campus officials should have known what this was going to be used for, yet they allow this to continue. And what you allow
those goddamn liberal university administrators for not calling in 5,000 California Highway Patrol SWAT officers to break up this group earlier. That's right. They should have been more bloodthirsty. It's literally all just the Vietnam War protest shit all over again. It's the exact same shit all over again.
To continue will exactly continue. Photographer Tony Butita, let's go down to this sign right here. I just want to show a sign on one of those pieces of plywood. Bruins say free Palestine.
Just what are you going to say? What are you going to say? Just I genuinely want to know what she's going to say.
A lot of signage on the metal, on the wood barriers that have been spray painted all through campus. Actually, yesterday we walked up to the cafe to use the restroom, and all the walls outside the campus cafe were spray painted with Free Palestine. We'll send it back to you.
So you were able to safely use the restroom?
Gigi, we were talking to Gina, and I could see her eyes watering. She was saying, it was hard to breathe because of what was in the air around her. What is it like, for you?
What was in the air around her? Yep, not the cops fired it, just what was in the air around her. Never implicate the cops ever for anything at any point.
Besides having to dodge these parts of these structure being thrown in your direction.
Thrown by who? Thrown by who? Oh, thrown by God, thrown by Hamas, thrown by Iran, thrown by Hezbollah, thrown by the Houthis.
We have dodged quite a few items thrown in our direction, both by police officers who are dismantling the encampment and by the protesters who occasionally will throw things at the officers. It is hard.
Okay, all I've seen is the cops throwing stuff. I haven't seen the protesters throw anything. So now we get the both sides. When we do an active voice for the cops, it must be immediately supplemented with unsubstantiated both sidesing to the protesters.
Hard to breathe. Your eyes water when they set off those fire extinguishers, but thankfully it's nothing worse than that, and it quickly dispels. Now, you see the strobe light right there? They continue to use strobe lights, and they continue to use flashlights, and they're flashing them right at officers' eyes. When the media...
She's blaming the protesters for the tear gas. I don't think they fired tear gas. What I assumed all the cloud was the smoke dispersing from the noise grenades they were firing. Tear gas. If it was tear gas, all the cops would have respirators. Or sorry, not respirators. They would have masks, and the media would be way farther back. I assumed it was smoke from the explosives they keep setting off. That would be my guess. It didn't all look like fire extinguisher particles. Fire extinguisher particles are heavier, right? They tend to settle. At least that's what I've seen in videos and when I've used fire extinguishers. Are those not respirators? Okay, they might have been respirators. I thought maybe it was because I was thinking of the like dialysis machines earlier. I don't know.
It was here earlier. They were doing that to television cameras, and they also said, you know, that they want to get the message out, but then they do that and.
These anti-genocide protesters say they have like a point, but then they've got flashlights too. What?
You can't get a message out when that's.
What the fuck does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? What the fuck does it mean? What does it mean?
Shined in your face, and they're doing that to the California Highway Patrol officers right now. The group of protesters is getting smaller, but it is still quite large as police continue to dismantle the encampment here right in front of Royce Hall.
This is definitely going to take some time here, but we could just hope that no one gets hurt in any of this. It does look like they're using those strobe lights, flashlights.
This is the saddest attempt at manufacturing consent I've ever seen. It will work on like 100 million Americans. I can't keep watching this, man. It's legit like bad for my mental health. I can't do it. I genuinely cannot do it. Yeah, Annie, I was just about to go over that.
By the way,
hello, MSNBC, woke liberal news station. What do you have for us today?
UCLA on the campus there. Police are moving these protesters out. There's an encampment. There are student protesters, we believe. There also may be outside agitators, and I'll put that in quotes. But
wow, thank you. Thank you for just briefly touching on something that might be your job, indicating that you're quoting someone else there and not supporting that independently. Thanks. That's just the barest possible minimum, that to admit you're waffling.
Well,
I don't know why when you hit space to unpause on Twitter, it does that. It gives like the border. I hate that.
Monitor this and see how it unfolds, but they are apparently trying to break up the encampment, which I believe was negotiations for several days now. This is happening at campuses across the country. This one's a little bit larger, a little bit more like Columbia was before.
I'm so proud of the UCLA students. Hey, look, if you're from UCLA, if you were a participant to this protest or supportive of it in any way, I am so proud of you. I love your campus. I loved going there growing up. I no longer live in LA because it's a blighted shit city, but UCLA was like an oasis in a desert. I love it, and I love you. And I'm proud of you.
Where they dispersed it. So we will monitor this situation and come back to it as necessary.
Johnny, what are your thoughts?
As I'm watching this,
Vosh, I'm a student at UCLA and was at the front lines of the encampment last night, and this morning it was awful and terrifying. We had guns pointed at us. They fired into the crowd and faced tear gas, and yet we were peaceful the entire time. Yep, guys, notice all of this coverage, no violence from the protesters. None. Zilch. Nada. And you trust me, you would know if there was, because if a cop had so much as a stubbed toe, they would be screaming about it, bawling their eyes out on CNN right now. You know, remarkable discipline and tenacity and optimism from the Gaza Solidarity Encampment protesters at UCLA. If I was still in LA, I would have visited for sure. I wouldn't have actually gone in there though, because that seems scary. Okay, listen, I'm 30 now. I don't want to get in any tussles. You know, I got back problems. You know, I got a job. But you know, you guys are doing great. You know, you guys are doing great. Oof, ouch, owie, my back. I am simply, at 30, I am simply too old to do direct action anymore.
Two thoughts that come to my head. First of all, I'd like to know where their parents are. You know, we haven't talked about the parents.
I'd like to know who these people.
Whiny, inept, limp dick, anemic, patronizing. These students all have more courage in their hearts than you do, by far. You know, where are their parents when talking about people with more moral courage than you have ever shown in your entire life?
Parents are.
I'd like to know.
Wait, hold on. Can we back up first and ask who these people are? Because there are a lot of these people who.
There were literally protesters in those encampments. 30 is nothing. Yeah, that's the joke. That's the joke that I'm doing. The joke that I'm doing is that I'm taking a Weasley excuse. I'm doing like a Bone Spurs thing. That was the joke that I was doing.
They're not students.
Yes.
They are not students. And by
Proof?
the way,
Evidence?
When people
Proof?
email me, I try to read as many emails as I can. And I swear to God, the theme of so many are, Joe, these are students. I believe that children are the future. Teach them.
The future.
well, and I'm like,
Thank you,
and I
Robert.
write back and say, thank you so much for watching the show. You mean the world to me. These are not all students. This is organized. It's across the nation.
Students can organize. That is a thing they're capable of doing.
And by the way, we all have students. We all know students. We have all talked.
Listen, man, look, I know students, and if there's anything I know students would never do, it's spontaneously organize protests in line with a popular progressive cause at the moment. You know, people say lots of shit about students, but if there's one thing I know they would never do.
To our students that are these are not all students.
They're not all students.
That's great. You're just repeat it, because if you repeat it over and over, people will believe it, even if you have no evidence. You know, like I can see shots of the crowd. They all look like, I don't know, young student kids, whatever to me. Like, I don't know. What do you want?
Sorry,
We'll find out.
I also want to put this against the backdrop of the vote yesterday on anti-Semitism in Congress. That it was 320 yeas and 91 people voted against a simple bill to protect against anti-Semitism.
You piece of shit. God almighty Christ.
And what's interesting, that's about 1 in 4. The same numbers that Jonathan Greenblatt and ADL have come out and said that 1 in 4.
Yeah, I'm constantly perma-banning my own brain cells.
4 Americans have anti-Semitic beliefs. So Congress is very representative of Americans.
Right.
Wretched demons. Despise them. Despise them. Oh, and he also provided this clip.
There's a struggle going on over here now, but again,
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Gina,
this is so dangerous. But again,
no, totally necessary, man. You know, you can't see it because it's on the other side of the board, but this line of cops literally doing a firing squad at a group of unarmored college students is definitely like totally necessary to secure the to secure the campus and prevent people from getting hurt.
this is so dangerous. But again, they're shooting rubber bullets, but I can tell you from doing stories about rubber bullets, they are extremely painful. If they hit your leg, your arm, they could break your arm. But they're trying to get into this encampment to get everyone arrested and out of this encampment.
That's the closest we're going to get to decent media coverage, is somebody like tepidly reminding you that these cops are being brutal monsters, you know? They literally cannot propagandize this to look good to anyone under 50. I genuinely do think that I have to stop this here because it's like immeasurable psychic damage. But like, I genuinely want you all to know that in spite of how bad this all seems, they can't squash this. This is a desperate, like, last-ditch effort to consolidate public opinion in the face of an overwhelmingly unpopular approach to our policy with Israel and with the Palestinians. This is not going to stop the student protests. This is not going to shut them down at all. This does not work. This just does not work. This is going to keep escalating and escalating and escalating, and it will always be the state that is responsible. And they are all against you. Like, genuinely, leftists and young people are like the pocket of sanity in a completely, like, an impossibly well-organized ruling class here. The capital class, the politicians, the media, everything from the police to the money that funds them to the politicians that defend, like every level of this interlinked in support of American hegemony. And that's what this represents. And they've done this before. They did this with Iraq, remember, where you would get blacklisted for even remotely criticizing George W. Bush, and every single commentator on every single news show had to all just spontaneously buy the open lies the Bush administration was pushing about 9/11 and WMDs and the Iraq War and its necessity and Saddam Hussein. Like, this happened with Vietnam. This happens every time, and they always end up losing in the long run. You know, we didn't keep the Vietnam War from happening, but we did leave sooner than we might have otherwise, and set American attitudes against it so far back that it now is like politically taboo to support it. We did the same to the Iraq War, okay? But now I think we have a better shot than we ever have before. I think we do, genuinely, because the American public is not as in favor of Israel's brutality as they were in favor of us doing revenge for 9/11, or as we were in favor of, like, containment strategy in Vietnam, right? Like, the American public doesn't have as much skin in this game, okay? We're defending another nation committing a genocide. The scale is different. The stakes are different. So, like, at the end of the day, the UCLA student protesters are heroes. They demonstrate more moral courage in one late night police crackdown than any of the scumfucks who descended upon them have demonstrated in their entire lives. And they will look back on these memories fondly. Whatever consequences it may net in their day-to-day life, in their employment, in their health, like, they will remember this fondly because they are heroes. What does the media turnaround look like historically, Bosch? You know, honestly, I don't know, but I don't think you can make any real comparisons. The internet kind of didn't exist the way that it does today back then. Social media, as it exists now, wasn't a thing back in 2003 during the invasion of Iraq, right? Like, the Vietnam War, the internet literally didn't exist. So I think that, like, the dynamic here, the dichotomy, it's very different. And I don't think any of this media makes them look good. I mean, we'll see how the polling pans out or whatever, but I don't think... I don't know. So is this truly uncharted territory? Yes, this is uncharted territory. You know, we can't be sort of like massaged into comfort by, looking at like polling data from 1963 or whatever. Or 1973, I guess. Well, if this all happened last night, what does UCLA look like now? What an excellent question. Like shit. As always, the cops don't clean anything. Not that it's their job to, I guess, but no, they don't clean anything. Here we go. From our favorite media source, Ollie London, the person who tried to make themselves surgically Korean.
After police
have
gone through here and forced the pro-Palestinian demonstrators out, CHP tells me 100 people were taken into custody.
The scars of this the scars of this attack will reverberate in the minds of the student personnel here for a long time, you know. Oh, and by the way, remember how I showed them like doing the performative unmasking? They were doing it to a lot of protesters. Again, the media and the police lining up. Stand right here, we're going to dox you. We know these charges won't stick. Stand right here, look into the camera, we're going to dox you. Remember, whatever position you're in, always remember to look defiant, okay? Defiant or happy. Never let them get you down.